On today's episode,
when people are like, what do you like to do? I'm like, I don't know, man. Cook, garden, cook. Food is supposed to be really fun and exciting and creative. He's like, hey, I'm Bobby Flynn. I'm like, I know who you are. And so I knew that I was going to walk in there and I was just going to say, look, I'm hungry. I want this. I am winning this thing. I don't remember half of it because I was in a lot of pain. And I love my candy, so I can't give it up. This is the best advice I've ever gotten.
yum, delicious, skinny, hungry, cake, fat, scale, nutrition, fitness, strength, longevity, calories, body image, craving, lose weight.
What does it all mean?
Hungry, adjective, having a strong craving or desire. Stunt girl, noun, one who takes calculated risks to yield extraordinary or magical outcomes.
You're listening to the Hungry Stunt Girl podcast.
Here's your host, Heidi Germain Schnappoff.
Well, hello, and welcome to episode 2 of The Hungry Stunt Girl. I am Heidi Germain Schnappoff, professional stunt woman for film and television. And today, before I introduce my guest, I have a question for you. I have been thinking a lot about this. I don't know why, mainly because I've been scouring social media and just for recipes and trying to stay out of the political debates on friends' pages. And I have this question for you. What makes a grilled cheese and not a sandwich? I mean, how many toppings can you put on before it's not a grilled cheese anymore? This is a real question. I've seen so-called grilled cheeses that have multiple charcuterie items or bacon, apples, onions. I mean, how much is it the proportion of the meats to the cheese that makes it a grilled cheese? Is it, you have to have at least 50% cheese on the sandwich and it has to be grilled? I mean, I know. This is all pretty intense. So if you have an answer to this, I need you to email me. You can email me a voice memo, or you can email me just an email, Heidi@thehungrystuntgirl.com. If you do send a voice memo, I will most likely put it on the next episode. But this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Yeah, of course, that's what I've been thinking about is grilled cheese because I am the hungry stunt girl after all. So today I was able to talk with an amazing, amazing chef whom I met through a friend of mine who has a podcast. And we had an awesome chat. We talked about everything from food, of course, to anxiety and mental health, and learned some pretty cool things about food and terminology that I didn't know before. And hopefully you will learn something too. And before I keep chattering on about grilled cheese, let's get into my conversation with Michele Ragussis.
Hungry Stunt Girl.
My guest today is Michele Ragussis. Michele is a Connecticut-born chef who began her culinary journey by having attended Johnson & Wales University. Her passion and love of New England cuisine, coupled with her Greek and Italian heritage and unrelenting drive, have afforded her a career as a highly regarded chef across the Northeast. Along with her talent and reputation, her unique personality and quick wit were what won over the Food Network for some of her first television appearances. These would include Chopped, 24-Hour Restaurant Battle, Food Network Star Season 8 runner-up, NBC Food Fighters, Comeback Kitchen, Midnight Feast, Farmer's Market Flip, and she's currently a repeat judge on the hit Food Network show Beat Bobby Flay, where she recently tried her hand as a contestant and scored a win of her own. Michele also participates in many live food events and festivals, including Mohegan Sun Food and Wine, Cuisine of the Sun, Burlington Food and Wine, and Alabama's Hangout Oyster Cookout, to name a few. Michele is currently collaborating with actress Mary Stuart Masterson on a new television project, as well as developing a cookbook highlighting seafood in each season. In addition to her culinary and television career, Michele participates and works with several charities, including Make-A-Wish, No Kid Hungry, March of Dimes, American Cancer Society, and has a soft spot for helping the animals, which I love. She is the creator of the newly formed worldwide celebrity chef-endorsed social media page Chefs for Disaster Relief in an effort to raise awareness of both human and natural disasters. Please welcome Chef Michele Ragussis.
No, that was good.
And the crowd goes wild.
Well, yeah, I love it.
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh.
So I am so incredibly grateful to you for doing this with us and talking to me about food, because I actually met you through a friend because I heard you on another podcast. And I got super stoked that you were so, I'm sure most chefs are, but you were so excited about talking about food. And I was like, I like her already. And I think I immediately started following your Instagram, and then we became friends because my friend ran the podcast.
Yeah,
and,
I love food.
It's accurate.
That was pretty much how it happened. I love food so much. I don't know. I wonder sometimes, I sit around going, am I boring? I might be boring. Because when people are like, what do you like to do? I'm like, I don't know, man. Cook, garden, cook,
garden,
stay at home, and
garden so that you can cook.
Garden so that I can pick my vegetables and cook, and go to farmers markets and cook.
Nice. Well, that's, and that honestly, that is what makes you interesting, because you actually enjoy what you do, and on all fronts. But let's go back a little bit first, because I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to this may not know who you are or where you're from. Actually, it'd be a good refresher for me. So can you just give me like a little background on where you're from and your influences, maybe?
I'm going to give you the rundown.
Give me the rundown.
Okay. Originally Connecticut. So, and I think a lot of people get that confused because TV's always saying I'm from Brooklyn, I'm from New England, I do move a lot, but Connecticut, born and raised. And, you know, I think, first of all, I'm Greek Italian, right? So I always say that. People are like, why do you cook? And I'm like, I'm Greek Italian, Greek Sicilian. And then I just go, enough said. Like, I think was born to do this, right? And then I was born on Thanksgiving. So my dad brought my mom a turkey to the hospital, which could have been. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, could have triggered. I swear, and I'm very serious about this, and people think I'm always joking, but I'm like, it could have really triggered like the first thing I smelled. I don't know. I don't know, but like, my whole family cooks, everybody. So we all love food, and it was a really big part of our lives. And it wasn't like
your whole family, siblings and whatnot.
My sisters, I got 2 sisters, and my mom and dad. But my mother would like wake up and start like rolling meatballs and stuffing breads and like stuffing artichokes, breading chicken cutlets. Wow. And my dad would be like making eggs and taking us to the farm to get eggs and make bacon. And then, you know, it was just like that every day. There was never, we didn't really order food out, and we never really, for me, a treat was to go to like McDonald's as a kid. Wow. I was like, can we really go get fast food? Because I did not get to do that often. So yeah, it was a lot of, but I loved watching my mother, and there was something, I don't know, we were forced to sit at the dinner table all the time. So like, there was just something she was always happy. She was always just humming and cooking and feeding and just kind of shoving food down. People would just walk in, and she was like shoving a chicken cutlet in her mouth before you got to the door.
Oh, chicken cutlet.
Yeah, I
feel like that's
right?
a very like personal thing. Like everybody makes their chicken cutlet. Like, this is how my mom makes a chicken cutlet. This is the only way I'm going to make a chicken cutlet.
I'm pretty particular. I actually, at Mohegan Sun this year, it was my onstage demo. And
really?
Yeah. And I literally called out everyone. I was like, who thinks they know how to make chicken cutlets? And everyone raised their hand. And I was like, I don't think so. And because, you know, every time I go get a chicken cutlet, they're like thick. That's wrong. Nope. They're not crispy. Nobody puts cheese in the breadcrumbs. Like sometimes you just go into a place and you're like, why is that just like breadcrumb color and no parsley, no cheese, no, you know, you gotta do the stuff.
Oh man, I'm getting hungry.
Have to do the stuff to make a chicken cutlet right. Yeah.
So you're in Connecticut. What came next? Then what happened?
Okay. So I'm in Connecticut, and then I came out gay. I have to tell.
Come out.
I'm out. I have to tell you that part, because that led me to some not good things in my life, because my family, or my mom, had a very hard time with it. Now, remember, I'm saying we are Greek Italian, and they are from Astoria, New York. Okay. So that, we'll just put it that way. And so I kind of like left home and didn't really pursue cooking at that point, got in some trouble. And then
we'll skim over that.
skim
trouble.
over that. We're going to skim over the trouble because it's about food, right? And then I had a girlfriend of mine actually tell me that she was like, you can't be a bartender anymore. This is late in the game. I was 27. She
Oh,
was
wow.
like, you're really, really talented at food. And I think you should go to school for culinary. And I was like, okay. So I was like, well, then I'm going to go to Rhode Island. And so I went to Johnson and Wales and I hated it. It was not a good experience for me because for me, food was fun and like, you know, I got to just hang out and be creative. It wasn't so military, and culinary school is nothing but military. So I probably got kicked out like 4 times because I was an adult going to a Sunday 12-hour class. And so I worked, and every time I would go, they'd be like, where's your necktie? And I was like, oh, I forgot it. And they were like, yeah, you got to go. Or your shoes are not clean because I worked. And I was like, oh, and they're like, go. And I was like, so after a while, I was like, what? Like, I'm here to cook food, not like have the white tall hat. And like, it wasn't even my style anyways. I'm not a French 5-star kind of restaurant person. Not that it's not 5-star, but that whole just life of being a chef in culinary school is very militant, and it's not how I cook or who I am.
Right. And you could still learn the technique without the.
You don't, I can brunoise something and make a sauce as good as anyone else. I don't have to stand there with my back upright and like, you know,
Clean
it's just
shoes and a tie. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to have some fun. It's food. It's not brain surgery. We should be having fun to me.
And for some people, I'm sure that's totally, that's works for them and that's how their minds work. But I'm kind of on your wavelength here.
Yeah. And there are some people. I had a friend who went to culinary school. He loved it. And he said, but he needed that discipline in his life. But he never really became a restaurant chef either. He's more of a private chef. So I don't know. I just think that food is supposed to be really fun and exciting and creative. And it's like taking a painter and telling them you have to do it this way. This is the only way to do it. If it is the French way. And by the way, I'm a Greek Sicilian. I think that's the only way to do it. So, I mean, you know, there's all of that.
Right off.
So then I don't know what it was, but I just went and I got a job. I quit culinary school. I got a job in a restaurant cooking, my first one, and I just knew what to do. I don't know how. I can never explain it to people, but I remember walking into my first professional kitchen and just being like, oh, all right, I got this, with 12 burners and, you know, working in some seafood restaurants that actually people just gave me a chance to really flourish. And in 3 years, I was pretty much running restaurants, and I don't know where that came from. I just walked into a lot of opportunities of smaller mom and pop restaurants.
Oh, wow. Where were you working?
So I was in Bristol, Rhode Island.
So you're still in Rhode Island. Okay.
Yeah, when this happened. Bristol, Rhode Island was my first running of 2 restaurants. Yeah. And then I went to Fort Lauderdale for a summer with some friends, and I stayed for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. And Florida's not really my thing, but I got a really good job. So I walked into this restaurant with a friend of mine who was looking for a serving position. I was sitting at the end of the bar, and the guy was like, the owner went, what do you do? And I just like started, I'm a year in cooking, and I'm like, I'm a chef. I'm not really a chef at this point, but you know, in my head, I'm like 27 and think I am. And he's like, well, I have a salad position. Do you want it? And I was like, no, but we got along. There was some banter there. And like 2 weeks in Florida, I couldn't find a job, and I was running out of money, and we were there for a couple of months. So I was like, I need to find a job. So I go back to the guy and I say, hey, is that salad job still there? And he was like, if you want it. And so I took the job, and 2 months into the job, the head chef quits. And so he's like, can you grill? And I'm telling, it was crazy. And I was like, yes, I can grill. And then he worked the line with me. And then he was like, can you saute? I was like, yes. And one day he walked off the line. He's like, you're good enough. Now here's what I'm going to tell you. The minute you stop having fun, this is the best advice I've ever gotten in professional kitchens. The minute you stop having fun, you need to come and tell me right away, because that's the minute it all stops. So 4 years of him letting me do anything I wanted, full culinary freedom. I'm like, I am just green, but I'm like, you know, excited and creative and having fun. And And then 4 years, I went up to him and I went, I'm not having fun anymore. I am
Wow.
working way too much. And and then I moved.
Where did you go next?
So next was Asheville, North Carolina. And I started running a Louisiana style bistro, which is not up my alley again. But, the one good thing about being in food is if you could cook, people will let you take things over. So it was her recipes, but she let me have freedom to do others. I stayed there for a year though, because at this point, Food Network was just like, I felt like I had enough, guts to go move to New York City and get on the Food Network.
Wow.
And so then Brooklyn. And then
Nice.
Brooklyn was really hard. 2 of my friends, 2 years. I mean, we all worked in some pretty bad jobs. I had one job that was in Brooklyn that my 2 friends, we were all like, so somebody always has to have a job to pay the rent. Of course, I had a job first. But this job was so bad. The chef was so mean. And he was like,
Aww.
I would always stand outside and like whistle. And he was like, I don't like people who whistle. And I was like,
God.
Yeah, he was not nice. So, and he would make me stand outside and prep under, what do you call them? An umbrella and a table while like bees were flying around me. It was awful. So every day I would call my roommates like on my lunch break and be like, did you get a job? Can I leave? And this was the one and only time I ever did this. And so Davina, my friend, called me and went, I got a job. You can leave. And I went, awesome. I went up and I said, I got to go to my car and get something. I'll be right back. And
Never came back.
They were rude and mean. And I was like, if I'm ever going to do something really bad, this is the time to do it. And I did it. I'm not proud of it. And I would never do something like that now, but I just couldn't take another second.
Yeah, you're only human, right?
I mean, once in a while, come on, you can only take so much abuse.
Right.
And then I started working at a restaurant called Beast in Brooklyn, which was all women. Women chef, women owner. And then I came on board, women servers. I think there was like 2 guys and a couple of prep dudes. And a producer for Chopped walked in and they were like, we need girls. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do Chopped. But I thought if I want to get on Food Network Star, I got to do Chopped. So I did.
You're like,
and
I'm a girl. And
yeah, right. I'm a girl and I can do this. And I lost, but thank God, second round, not first. And then it just started to kind of flow. They just started calling and like 24-hour battle was next. Yeah, they liked me and I won $10,000.
Cool. So that was the 24-hour restaurant battle.
Yeah. Yep. And it was Battle of the Exes, which is so weird. We didn't know. They didn't tell us, and I just had a friend. And then the guy who we were going against had his ex-girlfriend. And when they found out just through talking while we were filming that we were exes, they named it Battle of the Exes without really telling us, which wasn't very cool.
So after it just so happened that the both people that were on the show
had exes.
Oh, yep. Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then Food Network Star. And then I almost won that. And that.
Okay, I have to ask you about this because I heard the story of how you got onto Food Network Star, and I remember when I heard the story, I went back and I watched it, and I totally remembered you because for some reason that happens to be the only season of Food Network Star that I've ever seen of all of them.
Yeah, and
I remember thinking, oh, this is pretty funny. This chick's funny, and she's like, I thought you were like very charismatic, but like caring and like to watch, and which is probably why they kept wanting you back on the show. But explain the process of going in that room, because I think what did you guys? You had to cook something for Bobby Flay, or how did
it was crazy.
That process go?
Okay, so there's like 100 people in this like room in New York City. I don't remember exactly where we were, but like this big loft. And none of us know what we're doing there. We're all kind of like, I think some were like actors, paid actors, and some were real contestants. I mean, there was a lot of people. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Bobby Flay walks in. And so we're all like, what the heck is going on? And there are cameras there because, we're casting and whatever. And so all of a sudden, they just start calling names and people are like going into this room with him. And every time someone comes out, we're like, dude, what's going on? And, the producers are walking by going, nobody, you can't talk to each other really. But, when they're not looking, we're kind of like, what's going on? So I go in and I'm the last person on the day. And my casting lady comes up and goes, listen, Michele, you have to like bring it right now. He's been in there. It's been 10 hours. He's cranky. And you have to like be your fun loving self and kill it. And I'm like, great. Thank you. I've been
thanks
standing
for
here
that.
all day and now the pressure's on.
Oh,
So
God.
I walk in and he's like, hey, I'm Bobby Flynn. I'm like, I know who you are. And he kind of tosses me an egg and he's like, so I want you to make me something with an egg. And you got, I think it was 10 minutes, 10 or 12. And I was like, okay. And he's like, tell me what you're doing here. I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing here? I'm going to win. We're going to win. And he's like, just like that. And I was like, just like that. And so I knew that I was going to walk in there and I was just going to say, look, I'm hungry. I want this. I am winning this thing. And as I'm talking to him, we're talking about culinary school. And I'm like, I hated it. And he's like, you hated culinary school and you want a job on the Food Network? And I was like, yes, it has nothing to do with, we're joking. And as I'm like cooking and I'm nervous and there's cameras, at 9 minutes, I was just done making a eggs Benedict with a chive hollandaise and crispy prosciutto.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's like, wow, you did it in 9 minutes. And I was like, and he ate it and he was like, it's so good. He was like, leave me with a thought. And I was like, I'm so hungry. I'm going to win this thing. We're going to win together. And he was like, get ready. You're picked. And I was the first person picked.
No way.
Team. Yeah,
10-hour
awesome.
day. I can't even imagine. And then someone telling you, bring it because he's tired and cranky.
Yeah, that was not the fun part. But then I walked out like, wait a minute. Did I just get on Food Network Star? And now your life's about to totally change because, you're gone. We were gone for 11 weeks out of our lives. Yeah, it's just like you're plucked out of your home,
and
put into
talk?
This like, no, you can't. So
can't talk to anybody. Outside
it was like the hardest and the best experience. You can't, no phones, no computers, no books, no reading material, no iPods, iPad, music, no nothing. No headphones, no TVs, right? No, nothing, nothing. So all you had was the 15 people.
That's kind of cool though.
It's tough for people. I have a little bit of anxiety. So like the first night I woke up and I was like, I'm in a bunk beds with 4 women and we all had these apartments next to each other that I don't know. I don't know anybody. I don't like, I was freaking out. But then you wake up the next day and you have someone come and take your bag. You don't carry anything. You're kind of like, they bring you food. You want coffee. They bring you anything you want. And we're sitting in these little rooms that are like built and they look really nice inside, but it's really just like plywood on a set. Yeah, And then we were pulling 18-hour days, 12-hour days for 7 weeks without a break, really. And then we went to Miami, like the top 6 finalists. And then 4 of us came home and we went and then made like little trailers. And then I lost. What the hell? I'm supposed to win. Whatever.
Right.
It's okay. You
know what? Runner-ups always do better. I mean,
I know.
Where's Ruben Studdard right now? Do we know? I don't know.
I don't know. Where is he? Is he somewhere?
I kind of want to know now that I mention it.
Yeah, me too.
I have a question actually that I was going to ask earlier. We were talking about being a cook, and you were saying that you weren't a chef yet. What is the qualifying factor that brings you from cook to chef? Is it just the title that someone else gives you, or is it, what is it?
A lot of people ask this question. So what I actually think is, I think when your palate is developed is when you can consider yourself a chef. You can't do it when you first start cooking. You don't even know what goes together. It's one of those things like you could graduate culinary school and you can have some sort of ego, but until you can like put things together that are really going to blow people away or, and you need the years of experience. I also think to be a chef is you need to put your due diligence and time and hours and years of sweat and tears before you can consider yourself even that.
Do you like remember the moment? Was it another chef that kind of referred to you as a chef or something like that? Like they kind of like knighted you, or you just woke up one day and you were like, I did it.
No, I think the real big moments for me were after I left Florida, and now I'm at this point going on about 4 years there, 2 years Rhode Island. So 6 years of, I was pulling 70 hours a week and that was just, whatever. But when I went to Maine and opened up a restaurant for the same guy who owned the Florida one there, and I'd just come off Food Network Star. There was just so much publicity. And this was like a 220 seat restaurant. It was just all me. And so when I first started bringing in the staff of people, like everywhere else I went, there was already a staff. Now it's my team.
You're the
I'm
boss.
placing. And now people are starting to say, hey, chef, can I do this? And that was the day I went, all right, things
that makes
have changed.
total sense.
Yeah.
People start coming to you for things and you're the boss,
that's it.
Maybe not the boss is kind of weird.
Yeah, the boss in your kitchen. You are the boss in the kitchen.
In your kitchen.
Sure.
Yeah, that is cool. And that does that makes sense. Circling back to, you were talking about feeling, you say you're anxious. Do you consider yourself generally an anxious person?
I am an anxious person, so I have a lot of anxiety, and I don't know when it really started. Sometimes I ask my friends if I've always been like this, and they say yes, and I don't really remember. I do remember, though, in Rhode Island, having my first panic attack at a restaurant at work.
Wow.
And I remember walking out on the bar area and standing there, and I felt like, how in the movies when things zoom away really far away?
Oh, yeah.
Like the tunnel vision kind of thing. And I felt that. And the voices got really faint. I didn't feel like I was going to faint, but I was like, my heart started racing.
Oh, wow.
And it was like 5 minutes and it went away. But then it started happening almost regularly. And so I went to the doctor and they were like, all right, you're having panic attacks. I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Because, the restaurant world is fully stressful. Whatever anyone says.
Can't imagine having anxiety to begin with and then working. But I feel like from what you were describing, having that freedom and power when you're probably actually doing the cooking, for as stressful as it is, that's probably, I don't know if this is correct in saying, but like maybe a release because your mind's focused on so many other things. It's when you stop for a minute and then get overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And I also think, I have a touch of ADD. I think most creative people do. And when I realized a touch, really bad touch, really bad case. So when I was in Provincetown running a restaurant for 3 years, I finally had to go to a doctor and be like, look, I can't read a book without the first page 10 times before I can even concentrate, because I've already thought about the 100 things I'm going to cook. What am I going to do? What do I have to order? Who do I have to call? Blah, blah, blah. So I could never get through it. I felt like I was kind of cranky and not really nice to people at work, and not in the way of, I consider myself a very nice person, but it was I get overwhelmed with too much. So people would say, hey, chef, we're starting to run out of solo cups. So I think, and I would be like, just get to the point. And so I always thought that I was being mean. So finally, when I'm talking to this doctor, she explained it to me. And I was like, look, I feel like I'm being mean. I snap at people. They got to tell me a whole story. And all I want is to know, what do you need from me? And so the woman said, Michele, you need to take this ADD medicine. I was like, I don't want to. I'm scared. And she was like, I don't advocate for people to take ADD medicine, but I've never met anyone who has really bad ADD. So I was like, okay. So I waited 3 weeks. I'm looking at this stupid little pill every day. I'm like this. I'm scared. So I take it. I sit for 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, I don't feel anything. So I go to work. I was pleasant. I listened to every single person's story, even if I didn't want to. I went home and talked to my roommate, and he calls me doll, and he went, doll, you just listened to me and didn't look away or drift, or you just totally paid attention. And so she said to me, your brain is like an engine, a car, like you're going to die. You're going to shut off. It's going to you can't take too much information or you get overloaded. It's like you're flooding your car. Instead, what you really want them to say is, chef, we need a case of solo cups. That's exactly what I want. Right. So it was hard for me because when you are running a restaurant, and at that point it was a 120 seater, but with comedy shows, and it's a Provincetown. So it's like dinner shows, and then 120 seats in the restaurant, and then catering, a wedding outside on the beach. And we're doing this in the middle of the summer where we are sold out and selling 500 meals a day just in the restaurant. So yeah, it was, this is Provincetown. And so, I think it all comes with being a chef, but I think it almost, if you don't have the ADD or the anxiety, I don't know how good of a chef you'll be. I'm not sure.
Pardon the interruption, but I was too excited to wait to tell you about my sponsor, Pittston Ketchup. I actually reached out to them myself because I love their ketchup so much, and I am sure you will too. It is unlike the average supermarket ketchup. It has ingredients you can pronounce, and it tastes like homemade with a slight kick. Pittston Ketchup will give you 10% off your online purchase if you go to PittstonKetchup.com. That's PITTSTON, ketchup, KETCHUP, the way you spell ketchup.com, and use code HungryStuntGirl, all one word, at checkout. Again, that's PittstonKetchup.com, and the code for 10% off your purchase is HungryStuntGirl. What is your diet like? Like, what is your personal diet? And sleep?
So there's a whole story in the diet thing. So, I mean, personally, but a lot of people don't know. So I had my gallbladder out, and that it's changed everything for me.
You recently had it out.
Yeah. So September was when, so what are we in? Yeah. It's pretty, is that September, October, November, December, January, February, March? Wow.
That is
7
recent.
months.
Within the past year, or within 6 months, 7 months, you say?
7 months. And so when I was in the restaurant, my diet was not good. I was very much overweight, 30 pounds, now I've gained a little in this quarantine, but say 22 pounds, 23 pounds heavier than I am now. And the life of a chef is we don't eat good. People may think we eat good. We're walking by the fryer basket and grabbing some chicken fingers because we don't ever sit down to eat, really. So it's not like we're eating lobsters or steak. We're tasting good things all day, but by the time you're done eating the bad food and the dessert and tasting everything, you don't even realize it before you know it, that you're just inhaling a lot lot of unhealthy things.
Probably a lot of sauces, I'd imagine.
Oh my God,
like
sauces
tasting
and
sauces
butter and fat.
Butter.
Cheese. If you got a cheese board on, you got to taste every cheese that comes in, and pickling things. And which that's good, but any fried things, like I'm mostly a New England chef. So fried oysters and bone marrow on fried oysters. And so like a lot of stuff. But I used to get this pain in my stomach. And so it was my high stomach and my back. And I used to tell one of my sous chefs, I was like, oh my God, I got that pain. Can you please? I felt like I needed someone to rub it out of my back. But it would come and go. So I didn't know, was it gluten? Was I eating too much fatty food? Because, we're standing there going, yeah, give me that fried chicken and shove it in your mouth. And then I moved to Kingston and I left the restaurant world.
Kingston, New York?
Yep. And that's where I am currently. And my diet changed immediately the minute I left the restaurant. I lost 10 pounds pretty much 2 weeks because you're around food all day long. So you're grazing all day because if you're not busy, you're bored. It's not like you're fully doing things all day long. You have a team for that. So you're walking around just kind of snacking. And so that went away for me. But I still, at this point, I'm eating everything. And then one day I got that pain. And it was 10 o'clock at night, and it never went away till 7:30 in the morning. And it still didn't go away till I got to the hospital, and they shot me with drugs. And I was in the hospital for 5 days, so it was about to burst.
Wow.
And so when I came out, that was it. I was scared, and I was like, it was beef. It was beef and ice cream and fried foods that every time I ate them hurt me. And so I eat beef a little, but not very often.
So you said when you came out, you mean you were in the hospital and then they took it out? Or they told you it was wrong?
They took out my gallbladder, took it out. So I was in the hospital for 5 days because it was inflamed. They thought I was having a heart attack because it was actually putting pressure on my heart.
Oh my goodness.
So inflamed. Yeah, it was crazy. And talk about anxiety, but thank God for the drugs because they had me on a lot of good drugs. I don't know. I don't remember half of it because I was in a lot of pain. And when they took it out, the doctor came in and said, you have to be really tough, which by the way, I think I have the pain threshold of 1. And the doctor literally was like, you have to have such a high threshold because it was the biggest gallbladder I've seen in 25 years.
No way.
Yeah, she said it was the size of a double large baked potato and I had a gallstone the size bigger than a golf ball. I had no clue except for that one night. Yep. So it must have been growing and getting infected on.
They have to pass, right? Gallstones.
No, they went in and took everything out. They took it out.
They had to go in and get it out. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Because it was in my gallbladder and this it was gross. But and then once I got it out, I was really cautious. And now in 5 days in the hospital, I didn't eat. I had Italian ices, ices. Then I said to the nurse, I was like, am I okay that I'm not eating any, you guys aren't feeding me and I'm not eating? She's like, no, you're getting like fluids and food that way, like nutrients, whatever they were giving me. And then I got this weird ice pop addiction. And ever since I've been out of the hospital, I try not to, I don't eat a lot of dairy, very little bit. I eat beef. Since this like pandemic, I've eaten beef more, but maybe once every 3 weeks to a month. I eat a ton of green vegetables. So like watercress almost every day and either a kale or some sort of salad.
Nice.
And I do eat eggs. Sometimes they bother me. I do eat pork. Doesn't really bother me. I don't eat it often, but I eat it. So mostly chicken and vegetables and fruit. And candy.
And candy.
And I love my candy, so I
Nice
can't give
and
it up. Yeah.
Hey, balance, right? I mean, that's something that keeps coming up with every person I've been talking to, no matter what your job, no matter if you're a nutritionist or an actor or an athlete. It's about having that balance. So, yeah. Having your candy.
I got to have my candy. I don't drink a lot because I also realized that I was trying to figure out why alcohol is hitting me so hard lately. I mean, come on. I've been drinking a very long time in my life, especially in the restaurant business, and I could drink with the best of them. But recently, because I don't drink a lot, you know that, but when I do, I get drunk pretty quick. And I really just realized last week, I think it's because my gallbladder's gone because
you don't
everything goes right to my liver.
Filter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got like
So
one layer of that filter gone, I guess. I'm not a doctor, but I don't even know.
I'm not either, but that's what I think.
Now I know where the gallbladder, in relation to other things anyway, it seems the gallbladder's under your heart, but above your stomach, something like that. Is that?
Yeah. So it's like right under and by your heart, like middle.
Like upper rib cage. Back,
yeah. And
back.
I call it the liver's like girlfriend.
Oh, the liver's girlfriend.
And now the liver lost its girlfriend.
Gall.
Oh. Gall had to go.
Gall had to go.
Gall used to filter things and take all the burden for the liver, and then now the
what
liver
a gal
just.
Gall was.
I love Gall.
That's funny.
I know.
So you what? So that's what you've been eating actual eating, but what kind of these days, what feeds your soul? Do you have something like meditation or yoga? Or I know you were mentioning to me before we started this, so you have a coach, right?
I have a life coach.
Do you want to talk about? You don't have to.
Sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. He's great. So I have a life coach. His name is Nando, and he actually reached out to me. Coaches a few chefs, and he reached out to me just off Instagram, and he said he liked my energy. So I did a class with him about a year ago with 12 people. And I was a little like, well, I don't even know what life coaching is, but we'll give it a try. And I enjoyed it. Like, it had me pumped up. And every time I got off the call with all these 12 people who are doing, there was Broadway people, there were people in Italy. It was just crazy. And we'd all talk, and like, I was responsible again for something, because at this point now I'm in Kingston, not working and trying to figure out the next move. And so I did that, and then he called me and said, I want to do 6 months with you, like once a week. So we have a once a week call, and it is really just about kind of changing your way of thought a little bit, like things that I would never think of that were blocking me from moving on to things, or things that you don't really look at, or this thing that he calls like imposter syndrome. I mean, like, it's a lot of it is our wording, and he makes me make these charts and wheels and charts and wheels of things I want and what the language sounds like, to really just, I guess when you start talking the language, you start attaching things to it. Like, we create stories all the time. And this is something that is really stuck with me, because he's like, we're creating untrue stories every day, all day. And I'm like, what do you mean? And, I'm always skeptical, and he knows. I'm like, I don't understand. And he's like, well, think about it. So he gave me some examples, and I was like, oh my God, I create stories all the time. We all do. So like, even if it's a friend, say I have a friend who like, I'm just going to use this as an example. So I had a friend one night who, it was like New Year's, and she wrote me and was like, on Instagram, I should be there with you. Why am I not there with you? And I was like, I don't know. And then I left her a message. on her phone. And I said, get in your car, drive now. You'll be here in like an hour and we'll hang out. And then I never heard anything. Okay. So in my mind, I was like, okay. And this is like kind of relationship stuff. So I was like, all right, this girl's just like reeling me in to have me where she wants me. I'm making up this entire story. I'm not going to talk to her anymore. I don't need to do this. So I still don't hear from her. 2 days later, she calls me or texts me and says, I'm really sorry that I didn't text you back or answer your text. A friend of mine passed away and I've just been in a funk. And so I went,
oh my goodness.
I just created this whole story and lived with it for 2 days thinking, I'm not talking to her anymore. And we do it all the time, as little as like you go to a restaurant and you're like, the server's in a bad mood, right? And you're like, I don't know, I've done it. If you don't like your job, why are you working here? But do I really know? I all of a sudden just made this story that you don't like your job when you could have lost your mom. You could be not paying your rent. You could have a sick child at home, and I'm creating stories. So when these stories creep up now, he's given me the tools to go, you know what? Nope, not reality. And I do it all the time. We do it all the time. Am I good enough? Why didn't I get this job? You know, like he gave me an example of like, you know, if you're going to get a job and you say you didn't get the job, but you're really qualified for the job, and you come home and you're like, I didn't get that job, and you make up a story. I don't know why they didn't hire me. They hired a guy because they wanted you're just making up a whole story when really Linda in HR did a favor for her friend Pat and hired some lady named Mary, but you all of a sudden think you're not good enough. So it's just stuff like that that's
a good story.
Really,
that was quick. Yeah.
That was good, right?
Linda hired Pat, and her friend Jerry was,
because she did it for her friend, and it wasn't because they needed a guy, but I was coming home going, they are going to hire a guy, and making up some stupid story that is just, so I think it makes me stay very focused to what's real and what's not when I start to wander. And I do that often. I think we all do.
Yeah, that's actually it's something that I've been working on personally, just in life, to try to, maybe not in those terms, but just trying to play devil's advocate almost and try to put yourself in someone else's shoes and say, well, I really don't know why they're doing what they're doing. I don't know. Maybe it goes back to their childhood. Who knows? But whatever their reasons are, I don't know. And I try to, interfere or stop the cyclical, horrible thoughts before they start, or making up those stories that really do cause more anxiety and more stress in yourself, and try to just sit with it for a minute and be like, you know what? I don't know what's happening. That self-calming.
It's like if you don't get a job, you go for a job interview and you don't get the call, and they tell you they're going to call you at 4, and then it's like 4:30 and you're like, I didn't get it. I suck. I'm not good enough. And you say these things about yourself, and then really they call you at 4:35 and they're like, I'm sorry, you're late. I'm late. You got the job. And you're like, what did I just do to myself for 30 minutes? I tortured myself.
I nearly had a heart attack.
Yeah, right. So I think that's where coaching has really helped me a lot, and helps with anxiety. And he's taught me about tapping. Do you know about tapping?
No. What's tapping?
Tapping is literally, okay, you're going to laugh at me. So tapping would be that.
I won't laugh at you.
All right. If you were, say I'm having anxiety, or say I did something that made me feel guilty. I don't know. Guilt, I always think gives me anxiety. So you would tap in these meridians and you would say to yourself,
oh yeah, actually I have.
I'm human. I'm not going to let this. And you go all to these all different places that are under your chin, top of your head, on your chest. And it literally is hitting all these like meridians that stops.
She's tapping herself, by the way, for people who can't see, since they can't see you. She's actually tapping her head and tapping her collarbone.
Yeah, I'm a tapper.
Sorry.
So when I have anxiety, that's another tool he gave me. And sometimes I'll feel it coming on and I'll just start tapping, and it will break your chain of thought, the way you're feeling.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good.
That's cool. And it kind of plays into the whole balance thing as well, Yeah,
eating for sure.
Veggies, having a little candy, tapping in,
Shoestring licorice, nice. Why not? I had a lot of vegetables today.
That brings me to my next question for you, and we're going to start wrapping up here.
Okay.
First thing is, if you had all the time in the world to cook your favorite thing or your favorite meal, what would that be?
God, that's so hard for me.
I can come back to that. I'm going to give you the next question.
Okay, give me that.
What is your favorite quick thing to make? So,
God, I cook quick. That's so hard for me. No, let's see.
So what was like the last thing then, or what's your favorite? Your go-to if you're at home.
Chicken cutlets are my go-to always.
And they're relatively quick for you because you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's really quick for me. I mean, I pound them, I bread them, I fry them, I'm eating them. It's quick. So,
oh my goodness, your
yeah.
gnocchi. I saw it was like what, 12-minute
12-minute
gnocchi,
start
including the sauce and all that. So that's delicious.
Ricotta
But
gnocchi. That's a good one. Yep. Chicken cutlet. Go to always.
And yeah, go back to the long one. Is there something you really like to make that takes a long time, or are you just like not about drawing out cooking?
No. So I guess when you say long time to me means if it takes like 4 hours of itself in and itself to cook, because everything for me is fast, right? Because we're fast. Like if I was going to braise some beef shanks, it'd take me like 4 minutes to get it all ready. And then, well, now I got to wait 4 hours. So we go there, braised lamb shanks or ossobuco.
Ossobuco. Nice.
Yep. Good one, right?
I need an ossobuco lesson.
I need
so what is it? What is it?
Life. So it could either be, it's veal shanks. It's usually veal shanks, right? Or, but I like to use beef shanks because I have warned off the veal in my life. I don't.
And a shank is
like part of the leg cut. So it's got the
bone
nice
and the marrow.
Yes, and that's the really important part, which is probably my other favorite food in the whole world.
Marrow.
Bone marrow.
Bone marrow. Oh wow.
Roasted bones, crunchy bread, and some fresh herbs. I don't think there's any. So good.
Delish.
Yeah.
Delish. I really like escargot with some like chewy
crunchy bread.
Oh,
yeah.
So good.
Or some like steamed mussels with some like chewy bread and crunchy and grilled with some roasted garlic dipped in some delicious sauce. Am I making you hungry? Because I'm making myself.
I can't. I'm having a hard time talking right now because I'm drooling. I really, oh man. Of course, asking you what your favorite things to cook is going to be a very drool-worthy experience, I'm sure. So now that I suppose in between working, you'd be at home, but now that you're kind of forced to be at home, are you ordering out? I know you mentioned to me earlier that you were getting stuff from your farm, your local farm, but are you personally getting any meals out or just ingredients?
Okay. So I'm not really I think I've had one takeout meal since this whole thing. And there's the reason being literally is not to, one, I was a little scared because I have anxiety of just bringing anything into my house or in the beginning. And two, because I cook for myself every day, it's like it gives me something to do every day, especially in this pandemic. Like I don't want to take away the cooking for me during the day.
Right.
Because then what do I do all day? Like, the weather's not great here. So it's been a little rough with the weather.
Right. They give you activity almost as well.
Yeah, it is it's like what I look forward to do. If I get to do it 2 or 3 times a day, why am I going to take it away? Some people don't like to do it all day and are tired of it. I love it. So
but you are getting stuff locally and you're supporting
my farm
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I literally, I try and, I go on Instagram and let people know. Cause I don't think a lot of people really register that or think about it unless they live in a really heavily, we're all about farmers markets up here. But, if you think about it, when the farmer market stops, these farmers are still farming. And so one day I just called my farmer. I was like, do you guys have food? And she was like, so much. And then it just got out so much that they had nothing now. You have to wait. So like all the chicken was gone, but I get everything down to like all my pork, all my ground beef. I cook for my dog. So all ground chicken, my eggs come from there. And, then I will go to the grocery store if I have to for produce, if I can't get it from like a farm. But for the most part, mostly everything comes from the farm.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking, to Jamie on the last episode where I just got signed up for a weekly CSA basket from my local farm, Dancing Hen. Yeah. And doing the veggies and eggs every week, the farm eggs. Do you get eggs there too? I do.
And
the farm? Oh,
yeah, they're so beautiful. Nice. They're so good.
Like orange. The
yolk.
Orange.
Oh my God. Yeah. And my eggs are like blue and white and brown. So they always cool. Doesn't matter what color. And I'm like, no. I love it.
Do they have any, is there a distinction?
I think it's the chicken distinction. I don't think the flavor. I don't know the distinction, the flavor, nor do I find one. I need to look that up because I was talking to somebody about that today. But it's also, I don't think people realize a lot of people will talk about how expensive going to your farm is for meat, and it is. But these guys are waking up at 3 a.m. and they're farming till like 10 at night. And their animals, you don't even see the pigs. Every time I go to this farm, they're like 25 acres in the woods, eating and living a really, really freaking happy life. The cows are living a happy life. So they have one bad day, like we humans have one bad day pretty much. It's that last day. So I know what I'm eating. I know what they're eating. And the treatment of the animals is really important to me. So I'd rather spend the money on these, this farm that I love, that they're two young people who have carried on this tradition and they work harder than anybody I know. So
yeah, pay the farm now and not the pharmacy later. That's
correct. That's a good one. Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
I didn't come up with it.
Dang, that's so good.
I heard it said, well, I said it in a way less eloquent way. I used to just say, well, you're going to pay for the good stuff now or you pay for the drugs later. But I think pay the farm now and the pharmacy later. So
I love it.
A nice ring to it.
It's true. And, I don't know the battle between, vegetarian and vegan, and people say it's good for you. People say no meat's good for you. I really do think everything in moderation. And I really do think where your meat comes from is really freaking important. Like I don't buy meat in a grocery store if I don't have to. Or
the person themselves. Well, yeah, grocery store. You don't know where it came from, those factories and stuff like that.
No, yeah.
How the animal was treated, the hormones.
Yep, no way.
I mean, that is something kind of across the board, whether you're a vegetarian or you eat meat. That's like something that I really do try to advocate for, is to not, that factory farming is just...
It's so bad.
I don't really know the good thing about it other than it's mass producing meats and things, but
yeah,
it's like mass producing poison.
Everything.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I don't like it.
But yeah, I also think it's cool that you're supporting, your local economy and your local farmer and small businesses in that way,
Yeah, because there is the, supporting and buying food and taking out. But I feel like the farmers really...
Was it something that you did before anyway? It's not like you're taking your business away from something that you worked like previously,
I still always cooked every day, and I don't go out often. And now that money's tight, I got to choose where I'm going to spend it. And I want to see that farm survive, because those farmers are still, I mean, they're just, I don't think I've ever seen people work so hard to raise something so important. And beef is going to be a big problem in the world right now. There's and pork from all these mass-produced places that I'm hoping all these people don't come our way and take all of it. It's going to be
good,
right? The good stuff.
Luckily, I have some subscriptions that will hopefully hold true to their members. I do a butcher box every month.
Oh yeah,
and I get grass-fed. Different farmers, different local farmers, but it's all humane, grass-fed, grass-finished beef and chicken and some pork. And I think it's nice to see when they don't have certain items, because they're not just pushing to have any sort of chicken or meat. They're waiting for the good, humanely, whatever. And honestly, it's not for everybody. Some people don't do well with meats and have a moral or some sort of objection to it. And that's absolutely fine too. I think that's admirable, and not everybody's the same. So I know a lot of people just feel better on a vegan diet. And I was speaking to a friend last night who's doing mainly raw, but pretty vegan, like 90%. And her body just totally took to it. She's feeling better. For me, I like to go in phases personally. I've done it. I've done vegetarian. I have a lot of phases that I go in and out. And I feel like you're kind of just balanced fruits, vegetables, from what you've described.
I got to tell you, I mean, I'm being a Greek Italian and eating the way I have my whole life. I don't know of many days that there wasn't some meat involved, but it is always any meat that is from a farm or good, like or it's not, or I'm not going to eat
sick.
it.
Yeah.
Doesn't. I mean, it could have. I don't know. My gallbladder. Who knows? Yeah, I think fatty foods and and not, the doctor asked me what I ate, and I was like, oh, like
Everything.
I have like charcuterie and cheese every day and pâtés. And she was like,
Oof.
yeah, there you go, buddy. There it is.
Oof.
You're eating pâté and cheese and crackers every day. And I was like, well, but I was not eating carbs.
Oh,
So
yeah. Well, that's a start. But you last thing I want to ask you about too. You've been associated with and participated in events for different charities and organizations, and you even started this social media page. I'm blanking on it. What's it called?
Chefs for Disaster
Chefs for
Relief.
Disaster Relief. That's
Yep.
right.
Yep.
And that people, if they want to look at that there's a Instagram and Facebook for it.
There's both,
right?
and it's just at Chefs for Disaster Relief.
And then your personal, if people wanted to find you somewhere.
At ChefMichele with 1 L. And then Michele Ragussis on Facebook and Twitter. But I always have to say with 1 L because people are like, I can't find you. And I'm like, spelled with 1 L.
1 L, 2 S's?
No.
Wait.
No, what?
Gussis? How do you?
Oh, Ragussis. Yes.
Yeah,
3
SSIS.
S's. 3
Well,
SSIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SS. I was thinking of the first two, but you're right. There are three in total.
3 in total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
1 L, 3 S's.
1 L, 3 S's. Yeah.
I think I'm just making it sound more complicated than it is.
That's okay.
But great. This so much. We covered so much here. I could probably continue talking to you for another 2 hours and touch on any of the things that we just talked about for much longer. But I think it's a great outline. And now if anyone wants to know anything more about you, they can look you up on Instagram and
absolutely follow along.
You do
follow
stories.
you. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm trying.
You're doing good. You're doing good. You're doing good, kid.
Thanks, kid.
All discussions on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and are not meant to replace medical advice. Contrary to popular belief, Heidi is not a doctor or a nutritionist or an astronaut. Although, that would be kind of cool. Heidi, maybe you should be an astronaut.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. And if you could do me one super huge favor and click that subscribe button as well as clicking that 5-star rating, I would be so grateful to you. Support comes from sharing this podcast and ratings from people like you and helps keep this podcast afloat. So thanks again, and remember, stay hungry.